Hello. This week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, is all about Abraham. God promises him a bright future if he moves to a new place. He goes there, but faces a famine. Goes to Egypt, separates from his nephew Lot, participates in the war of the 4 against the 5 and wins, enters into the covenant between the parts with God, and has a son, Ishmael, by his maid Hagar, since his wife Sarah is childless. God promises him a son by Sarah, changes his name from Abram to Abraham, and orders him to circumcise himself and his household. Okay, but why does God take an interest in Abraham in particular? We're not told. Contrast with Noah, before him, and Moses, after him. Noah is introduced as righteous and perfect. Quotes, Noah matzah hen be'enei Hashem. Noah ish tzadik tamid haya bedorotav, et ha'elokim hithalech Noah. And Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Noah was a righteous man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. Unquote. Moses is introduced by actions that show leadership, compassion, and courage. He kills an Egyptian taskmaster who is beating a Jew. He intervenes in a fight between 2 Jews, telling one, "Why do you strike your fellow?" He defends the daughters of Yitro from the shepherds who drove them away from the well. Only then God talks to him at the burning bush and gives him his mission. So we understand why these 2 were picked. But Abraham, he's introduced only as follows. Quote, Terach fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran fathered Lot. And Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, but Sarai was barren. She had no child. And Terach took Abram his son, and Lot his grandson, the son of Haran, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, and they went from their homelands Ur-Kasdim, Ur of the Chaldees, to the land of Canaan. And they came to Haran and lived there, and Terach died in Haran. Unquote. This passage is really about Abraham's father, Terach, not about Abraham himself. Why did they want to move to Canaan? We're not told. Then suddenly, without transition or justification, quote, and the Lord said to Abram, get out from your country and from your family and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the souls that they had made in Haran. And they went forth to go to the land of Canaan. To the land of Canaan they came. Unquote. And a little later God tells him, quote, all the land that you see I give to you and to your seed forever. Your seed shall be as the dust of the earth. Unquote. Why? God doesn't say. Abraham doesn't ask. There is no obvious reason. Why him? Unknown. The Ramban in 13th century Spain poses the question as follows. This section of the Torah has not adequately explained the issue. Why should God tell Abraham, leave your land and I will extend to you the greatest good that has ever been, without first indicating to us that Abraham was a servant of God or a perfectly righteous individual? Or the text should state a reason for God's injunction to Abraham to leave his land, namely that he will achieve closeness to God in the new location. The convention of the Torah is to state, walk before me, listen to my voice, and I will reward you. This is the pattern throughout the Torah. For example, the Torah says, if you will follow my statutes, then I will provide the rains in their due season. If you will surely listen to my voice, then I will raise you above all other nations of the earth. But to promise Abraham such reward solely on account of his leaving his land makes no sense. Unquote. So let's examine some possible reasons why Abraham was chosen. First possibility. Abraham was chosen by default. Perhaps God approached others, such as Abraham's father or brothers, but they were unwilling to comply. Note that the Midrash also suggests that Israel was chosen by default. It says that God offered the Torah to various nations, and they all turned him down, except Israel. We only hear about Abraham because he was the only one willing to accept an invisible God. So, was Abraham the best by default, although not particularly worthy? Second possibility. Abraham was chosen because he was intelligent. This is the answer given in the Midrash. Abraham proceeded logically to deduce the existence of God and the futility of idolatry on his own without revelation. Quote, Rabbi Chiya said, Terach was a manufacturer of idols. He once went away somewhere and left his son Abraham to sell them in his place. A man came and wished to buy one. Abraham asked him, How old are you? 50 years, was the reply. Abraham exclaimed, Woe to you! You are 50 years old, and you would worship a day-old object? The man became ashamed and left. On another occasion, a woman came with a plateful of flour and asked him, Take this and offer it to the idols. So he took a stick, broke the idols, and put the stick in the hand of the largest idol. When his father returned, he asked, What have you done to the idols? Abraham rejoined, A woman came with fine meal and asked me to offer it to the idols. One idol claimed I must eat first, while another claimed I must eat first. So the largest idol arose, took the stick, and broke the other idols. The father cried out, Why do you make fun of me? Do these idols have any knowledge? Abraham retorted, Your ears should listen to what your mouth is saying. Thereupon the father seized the son and delivered him to King Nimrod. Nimrod proposed, Let us worship the fire. Abraham replied, Let us rather worship water, which extinguishes the fire. Then let us worship water. Let us rather worship the clouds, which bear the water. Let us then worship the clouds. Then let us rather worship the winds, which disperse the clouds. Then let us worship the winds. Let us rather worship human beings who withstand the winds. Nimrod exclaimed, You are just bandying words. We will worship only the fire. Behold, I will cast you into the fire, and let your God whom you adore come and save you from it. When Abraham descended into the fiery furnace, he was saved. Unquote. So Abraham derived the truth on his own. The Talmud goes even further. Quote, Rav said, Our father Abraham kept the whole Torah. Unquote. So Abraham observed the Torah before it was revealed because he figured it out. The basis for this is actually the Torah itself. God tells Abraham's son Isaac that he will receive blessings. Quote, Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Unquote. But why doesn't the Torah tell us his merit, as it did with Noah and Moses? The Ramban argues that the Torah did not want to dwell on the terrible things Abraham witnessed in Ur. This would publicize idolatry. But this is not convincing because later the Torah itself lists what practices are forbidden, and does speak of wickedness in the time of Noah. Quote, And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Unquote. The Maharal in 6th century Prague notes that Noah and Moses had only one-time missions. Noah built the ark and saved each species. Moses freed the Jews, teach them Torah, and lead them to Israel. But Abraham's mission was for eternity. God said to him, I will make you a great nation. God was choosing the progenitor of a nation, not just one individual. Third possibility. Abraham was chosen because he was obedient. He did what God asked him without questioning. He had faith God was right. That's what God wanted at the time for that mission. God was not looking for a righteous man like Noah or a compassionate man like Moses, but an obedient one who would say like the Israelites at Mount Sinai, quote, Na'aseh venish'ma, we will do first and understand later, unquote. The Torah could not say at first that Abraham was selected because he was obedient, because he had done nothing yet to prove that. But he soon proved it. The strange commandment, leave everything and go, was followed without question. Later, the order, sacrifice your son Isaac, was followed without question. However, Abraham did argue against the destruction of Sodom, so righteousness was important to him. In the Torah, God says of Abraham, quote, I know him. He will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do righteousness and justice, unquote. However, the Mishnah does say that God tested Abraham to make sure he was the right one. With 10 tests, Abraham our father was tested, and he passed them all, in order to show how great his love was. Peace be upon him, unquote. The Rambam's list of these 10 tests is: God orders him to leave his homeland for Canaan. When he gets there, he faces a famine. The Egyptians capture his wife Sarah and bring her to Pharaoh. He must fight in the battle of the 4 against the 5. He sleeps with Hagar after not being able to have children with Sarah. God orders him to circumcise himself in his old age. The king of Gerar captures Sarah to take her for himself. God orders him to send Hagar away after the son Ishmael was born. He becomes estranged from his son Ishmael, and God orders him to sacrifice his son Isaac. Some lists include the fact that God tells him that his descendants will be enslaved in a strange land. Other lists exist, which include Midrash stories outside Torah, such as that Abraham was thrown into a fiery furnace by King Nimrod. Fourth possibility: Abraham was chosen because he could get things done. He got to work right away spreading the message, without even being commanded. The Midrash says, quote, Adam made converts, for it is written, and Abraham took Sarai his wife and all the souls that they had made in Haran. Rabbi Elazar observed in the name of Rabbi Yosef ben Zimra, if all the nations assembled to create one insect, they could not give it life, yet you say, and all the souls that they had made in Haran? It refers to the converts. Then let the Torah say that they had converted, why that they had made. This is to teach you that if one brings a convert near God, it is as though he had created him. Now, why does it not say that he had made instead of that they had made? Said Rabbi Hunia, Abraham converted the men and Sarah the women. The Avot prayer in the Amidah begins by calling God, God of our fathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, but ends with calling God Magen Avraham, shield of Abraham. Why not shield of the patriarchs? Because Abraham was different. He was the first. He was the enabler. He taught his children, but no one taught him. He grew up among pagans, but his children did not. He is called Bechir HaAvot, the best of the patriarchs. In conclusion, God probably chose Abraham because he was intelligent, obedient, and knew how to get things done. He had reached knowledge of God on his own, without revelation, did as told, and did it well. That was the combination God needed